So imagine owning multiple transitional housing facilities and knowing that they're fully protected, safe from liabilities, safe from disputes, and safe for unforeseen challenges. Now that is the power of trusts. Now this is going to be my series on trusts and transitional housing. And we're going to do several episodes talking about this very thing. And in today's episode, we're going to explore how trusts can safeguard your assets and the difference between revocable and irrevocable, but most importantly, why keeping transitional housing facilities in your name might be a risky choice. So you'll want to stay on till the end. So let's dive in to the basics of protecting what you have built. Now, got to give you a disclaimer because in these episodes we'll be talking about, I am simply giving you information. These are for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal or financial advice. Now, trust law and regulations vary from state to state, and it's all on an individual circumstance. So it's essential that you consult with a qualified person that can share information with you and what is the best strategy for you going forward for your specific needs. Now, as we look at trust, you need to understand the importance of simply having a trust for asset protection, because trusts are separate from your personal assets, and when you can utilize trusts to separate that is tremendous, because it's offering you a layer of legal protection that you don't have simply having something in your name. They also provide you privacy. Now we know in this day and age that we live in, everything is pretty much public knowledge. But when you have a trust, you have a level of privacy that's keeping property ownership out of that public record, and that is critical. So if you don't have one of these in place, at the very minimum, you need to be reaching out to me or someone else who can sort of help get you on the right direction. So as you create that, that's why trusts are so important. But most importantly, what trusts do is they ensure a smooth transition during inheritance, which would avoid any type of probate delays. And we all know somebody who's gone through that experience, right? You might even have gone through it yourself. So making sure that you have a trust in place to protect you is critical. This is why trusts are so important. Now, why trusts are important to protect property owners? It's the biggest thing for shielding your properties from potential lawsuit or from creditors. So when you have a trust in place, you have the right type of trust, because I'm going to stress that many people think they have trust and they think they have things in place proper, but they don't find out until it's too late that they have the wrong trust in place, because there are several different types of trust that you can create. You need to make sure you have the right one that's going to fully give you that protection you need from any lawsuit or from creditors. And also, by having a trust, property owners get a large impact as it relates to their taxes. So it will minimize your tax implications because you will be properly structured. So those are the main reasons why you want to make sure that you have your trust in place so that you are protecting your assets and giving you the best opportunity to moving forward with the property that you're creating, especially if you're in transitional housing. Now, you heard me sort of allude to types of trusts, right? You've got revocable trusts and you've got irrevocable trusts. So understanding and knowing which is extremely important. So as you look at what a revocable trust is, A revocable trust is where the owner retains control and can modify or revoke it during their lifetime. That's why most people I know, I practically, like 95% of the people that I know have they have revocable trusts because they want to control it, and they feel like that revocable trust allows them to do that. So that's what 95% of the people have. And they can modify and do whatever they want to it. And it's ideal for individuals who want that flexibility in managing their assets. But let me stress, when I said their assets, it truly is them. So when you have a revocable trust, that is the same as a living trust, revocable trust, or grantor's trust. Is all the same because you have that type of control, and it's their assets are put there. But we'll talk a little later about how that can hurt you having a revocable trust. The other type of benefit, let me just finish before I jump into the other one because I'm so excited about the other one. But you have to talk about some of the key benefits of a revocable trust because, as I said, it does simplify asset management while maintaining control. So it's not as complicated as if it were in your own name. So that's why that is one of the key benefits of having a revocable trust. It also does protect the property from public scrutiny. We'll just say it like that. And it's some limited potential disputes. And I'm going to say limited because, as I've heard me say, the revocable trust still technically is you. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But it does give you some protection. Also, it allows for the smooth transition of ownership upon death without probate, which we talked about before. And as you look at its limitations, these assets in a revocable trust may still be subject to certain legal claims since the owner retains control. And that's the part I was alluding to. Because at the end of the day, if something happens to you, let's say you got in an accident tomorrow and you go to court and there's a judgment against you and you have these assets in that revocable trust, guess what happens? All of that is exposed. Why? Because it's you. It's still you. It's associated with you because your social security number is on there. So check yourself out. You know which type of trust you might have, but that trust that's tied to you, tied to your social security number, all of that stuff still puts you at risk because the moment that there's an accident, guess what? They're coming for your assets, like even if they are in a trust because it's attached to you. So that is basically what a revocable trust is. Now let's do the flip side and talk about an irrevocable trust because it's a stronger protection but with less flexibility. That's why a lot of people don't like irrevocable trusts. I love them because at the end of the day, it does exactly what it needs to do, and you want that protection. You want to be protected. So basically, an irrevocable trust is a trust that cannot be changed or revoked once established. And when you set it up, that's how it's established. And there's other things we can talk about dynamics later, but at the end of the day, that is what an irrevocable trust is. So it can't be changed as it's set up publicly as it is supposed to perform. And then you've got the transfer of ownership of its assets to the trust, which is removing them from your estate. So anything you put in there belongs in there. And as I said, by doing it that way, the biggest protection you've gotten, the biggest benefits, is that it gives you so much protection from lawsuit and creditors because now you've got clearly a different trust is a different entity. It's a different person per the definition of IRS because you have a separate EIN number for it. Everything is separate. So in that same scenario I said earlier, where if something happened to you, an accident happened, and they're now coming for you, they can't touch anything over here. Why? Because it's separate. It's not you. It is not an alter ego. It is truly its own entity operating as itself. So if they're looking for assets, they're not going to find them for you because it's not for you. It's under the trust. So understanding the differences and knowing how you're creating asset protection is critical. And one of the largest benefits is the fact that it reduces estate taxes for high net worth individuals. So it definitely works in your favor. You just have to be open to as the way it's structured, because it is structured to not change when you set it up publicly here. So as long as you're doing those things and moving through that space, it moves smoothly for you. You got all those benefits. Now, I will say, as you consider this space, because it is less flexibility as the owner is relinquishing control over all the assets, but the trust owns it. The trust manages it. The trust does the controlling of those assets. So we'll just leave it there so you understand the assets are still under control, but they're under control by the trust, the irrevocable trust that's set up. And then also, this might not be ideal for the person who, they say it's not ideal for people who have ongoing management of properties. They say that, but we could talk about that in detail. If you want more information on the differences of those two, definitely hit me up, because the information is phenomenal and it will change your life once you get it in hand. But those are the basic differences between an irrevocable and a revocable trust. Now, I do have to say that as you are looking at a structure that works, you do have to consider the liabilities and the risk, regardless of how you set it up, because you want to make sure that at the end of the day that your assets are protected and that they are properly placed either in a trust, either irrevocable or a revocable. Making sure you've got those things in place will protect you, and you want to make sure you're limiting that liability. But being able to do it that way is a better situation for you. Now, as you think about trust, and because as I look at how other things, I hear people talk all the time about, oh, well, I'll have an S Corp and a C Corp. I'll have all these crazy complex structures. Like, that used to be me. I actually used to have a very complex structure I had gotten with this company, I won't name here, that created the most complicated structure you could ever imagine. And I think I had, let me see, I might have had 7 or 8 different things in place that were then feeding something else. Like, I was going crazy to how complicated my structure was. And to literally move from that space into a less stressful, a more simple system that I could manage, it was like I could breathe again. And to be able to breathe and know that I am operating as I need to, legally and lawfully, doing the exact things I'm supposed to do as it relates to my taxes, as it relates to how I'm structured, and everything runs so smoothly. So I want to just encourage you to reach out to me, because this is the stuff that sometimes, as we said, a case-by-case basis, you want to talk to somebody clearly who can help guide you. I can point you to the right direction of people who can give you information, and then based off that information, you can make an educated decision. So definitely reach out, because if you're thinking about how you can protect your properties and your transitional housing facilities and build a solid foundation, I want to be the one to be able to help you with that. So definitely leave me some comments below. If you have properties that are not structured right and you want to just check and see how you're structured, I'll be more than happy to guide you. And I want to invite you to reach out to me directly for deeper discussions on how you can fit your assets into a strategy such as this. Now, as I said, this is going to be a series. I'm going to give you as much information as I can about trust and transitional housing. So be sure to ask whatever questions you have so I can answer them to you directly. And I look forward to helping you transform your life, because as you transform your life, you are transforming the world. And so it is.